Imagine the landscape of North America 13,000 years ago. The air is crisp, the horizon is vast, and the ground trembles under the weight of giants. But among the mammoths and the ground sloths, a shadow moves through the tall grass, a predator of such scale it feels more like a myth than a creature of flesh and bone. This is the American lion, Panthera atrox, the cruel panther. For decades, our understanding of this titan was buried beneath the asphalt of the La Brea tar pits in modern-day Los Angeles. Imagine the scene, a shimmering pool of oil, looking like cool water to a thirsty animal, becomes a deadly trap. As bison and horses became mired in the sticky depths, their cries drew in the great lions. In a tragic twist of fate, the hunters became the hunted, preserved for millennia in a tomb of black silk. When paleontologists first began pulling these bones from the earth, they realized they weren't looking at just another lion. They were looking at a ghost from a world where everything was dialed up to the extreme. Standing nearly 4 feet tall at the shoulder and stretching over 8 feet in length, the American lion was roughly 25% larger than the African lions we see on the Serengeti today. It was a specialist of the open plains, built for explosive speed and raw power. But what truly haunts the imagination is how they lived. Were they social, like modern lions, or did they stalk the frozen plains as solitary phantoms? In this opening chapter, we peel back the layers of time. We look at the fossil record that proves these cats weren't just visitors. They were the undisputed masters of the continent, ranging from the icy reaches of Alaska down to the mountains of Mexico. As we reconstruct their world, we begin to understand that the American lion wasn't just a bigger version of a modern cat. It was a unique evolutionary masterpiece, a specialized killer designed for an environment that no longer exists. They are the ghosts of our own backyard, silent witnesses to an era of ice and fire. To understand the American lion is to understand the true scale of the wilderness we lost. As the sun sets over the Pleistocene steppe, the amber eyes of a giant watch from the brush, reminding us that once humans were not the top of the food chain. To understand the American lion, you have to look past the fur and the snarl and look at the engineering. If the modern African lion is a high-performance sports car, the American lion, Panthera atrox, was a heavy-duty battle tank built for high-speed intercepts. In this chapter, we dissect the physical machinery that allowed this cat to reign supreme over a continent of giants. The first thing that strikes you about the anatomy of Panthera atrox is the sheer scale of the skeleton. While a large male African lion might tip the scales at 500 pounds, an American lion could easily reach 800 to 900 pounds. This wasn't just fat mass, it was dense, explosive muscle distributed over a frame that stood nearly 4 feet tall at the shoulder. When you stand next to a reconstructed skeleton, you realize that this cat could look a grown man directly in the eye without even standing on its hind legs. Its limbs were a marvel of evolutionary specialization. Unlike the forest-dwelling jaguars, the American lion had remarkably long, slender lower leg bones. This tells us it was a runner, a pursuit predator designed for the open grasslands and mammoth steppes. It had the leverage to chase down horses and camels across miles of flat terrain, yet it retained the massive retractable claws of a felid to anchor itself once it made contact. But the true terror of its anatomy lay in the skull. The American lion possessed a bite force that defied modern comparison. Its jaw was shorter and broader than its relatives, providing a mechanical advantage that acted like a massive pair of bolt cutters. Analysis of the skull reveals deep attachments for the temporalis muscles, suggesting it could crush the windpipe of a prehistoric bison in a single decisive clamp. Interestingly, unlike its cousin, the saber-toothed cat, the American lion didn't rely on fragile, elongated fangs. It had thick, conical teeth meant for gripping and holding onto thrashing thousand-pound prey. Perhaps most fascinating is the brain case. CT scans of Panthera Atrox skulls show a highly developed sense of smell and large optic lobes. This was a visual hunter, one that likely possessed the same night vision we see in cats today, but amplified by the sheer size of the sensory organs. Every inch of this animal was tuned for the kill. From the tip of its heavy balancing tail to the massive carnassial teeth designed to shear through hide and bone, the American lion was the pinnacle of feline evolution, a giant that grew to its size because the world it lived in demanded nothing less than a titan. The American lion did not just live in the Ice Age, it owned it. While the world was gripped by a cycle of advancing and retreating glaciers, the American lion claimed a territory that stretched from the frozen steppe of the Yukon all the way to the rugged mountains of Mexico. In this chapter, we step into the wild, wind-swept landscapes of the Pleistocene to see how this apex predator functioned within one of the most competitive ecosystems in Earth's history. Imagine a world where the horizon is filled with massive herds of western camels, ancient horses, and the iconic woolly mammoth. This was the buffet of the American lion. Unlike the dense jungles favored by jaguars, Panthera atrox was a master of the open plains. Because of its massive size and long-limbed anatomy, it didn't need to hide as much as modern cats do. It was built for the chase. It would stalk through the tall grasses of the American savanna, using its muted coat, likely a tawny, sandy color to blend with the dry earth, to get within striking distance before launching a high-speed pursuit that could bring down a 1,000-pound bison. One of the greatest mysteries paleontologists have wrestled with is whether these giants were solitary or social. In the African savanna, lions live in prides to defend their kills from hyenas and to take down massive prey. For the American lion, the stakes were even higher. They shared the landscape with short-faced bears that stood 12 feet tall and packs of dire wolves. To survive, did they form super prides? Some evidence from the fossil record suggests they may have been more solitary or paired hunters, similar to tigers or cougars, but on a massive scale. Their sheer individual power meant a single American lion was a match for almost anything else on 4 legs. Chemical analysis of their boons, specifically nitrogen and carbon isotopes, reveals a fascinating menu. These cats were specialists. They weren't scavengers, they were high-level hunters that targeted the fastest and most difficult prey on the continent. By dominating the open corridors of North America, the American lion acted as a crucial regulator of the ecosystem, keeping the massive herbivore populations in check. They were the architects of the landscape, moving through the tall grass like golden ghosts, ensuring that only the strongest survived. To see an American lion in its prime was to see the absolute pinnacle of the Ice Age, a creature that feared nothing and shaped the very world it walked upon. The Pleistocene was not a peaceful wilderness, it was an evolutionary arms race. While the American lion was the heavyweight champion of the open plains, it was far from the only monster in the yard. In this chapter, we explore the clash of the titans, the brutal daily competition between the American lion and its two greatest rivals, the Smilodon, saber-toothed cat, and the giant short-faced bear. Imagine a kill site on the ancient Californian grasslands. An American lion has just brought down a massive western horse, but before it can eat, a pair of Smilodon fatalis emerge from the scrub. This was a battle of two completely different combat styles. The American lion was a power wrestler, using its massive size and crushing bite to exhaust and suffocate prey. The Smilodon, by contrast, was a precision slasher, built like a bodybuilder with immensely powerful forelimbs designed to pin prey instantly while its knife-like canines delivered a lethal strike to the throat. Evidence from the La Brea tar pits shows a fascinating divide. While Smilodon fossils outnumber American lions, the lion's bones show fewer injuries related to interspecies combat. This suggests that the American lion may have used its sheer physical presence to intimidate other predators. In the world of the Ice Age, size was the ultimate deterrent. A 900-pound lion standing 4 feet at the shoulder was a terrifying sight, even for a pack of dire wolves. However, the true final boss of the American landscape was the giant short-faced bear, Arctodus simus. Standing 6 feet at the shoulder on all fours and reaching 12 feet when upright, this bear was a kleptoparasite, a professional thief. When a short-faced bear arrived at a lion's kill, the lion faced a choice: fight a creature nearly twice its weight or abandon its hard-earned meal. These encounters were high-stakes games of chicken that defined life in the Pleistocene. This chapter dives into the scar tissue of history. We look at fossilized bones that tell healed bite marks and fractures, telling the silent stories of these ancient brawls. The American lion wasn't just a hunter, it was a warrior that had to defend its title every single day against a cast of prehistoric killers that seemed like something out of a nightmare. It was a balance of power held together by tooth, claw, and blood. For the final chapter of our journey, we face a haunting silence. Roughly 11,000 years ago, the roar of the American lion, a sound that had echoed across the continent for hundreds of millennia, simply stopped. In this concluding chapter, The Final Roar, we investigate the Quaternary Extinction event, a prehistoric mystery that saw the disappearance of North America's greatest megafauna. The fall of the American lion wasn't a slow decline. In geological terms, it was a sudden crash. For years, scientists pointed to a single culprit: the changing climate. As the Wisconsin glacial period ended, the vast open mammoth steppes began to transform. The cold, dry grasslands that the American lion called home were replaced by dense forests and wet tundra. The giant horses, camels, and bison, the primary food source for a 900-pound cat, couldn't adapt fast enough. As the prey vanished, the specialist predator followed. But climate is only half the story. At the exact same time the American lion was struggling with a changing landscape, a new predator arrived on the scene: Homo sapiens. Armed with atlatls, fire, and sophisticated social organization, the first humans in North America were more than just competitors. They were a disruptor that the ecosystem wasn't prepared for. While humans may not have hunted the American lion to extinction directly, they hunted the same prey. By outcompeting the lions for food and perhaps occasionally killing them in territorial disputes, humans may have delivered the final blow to a species already teetering on the edge. Today, all that remains are the bones. From the black depths of the La Brea tar pits to the frozen mummies of the Yukon, we find the remnants of a king that once ruled from coast to coast. Genetic testing has recently revealed a stunning truth. The American lion was a distinct sister species to the modern African lion, separated by over 300,000 years of evolution. They weren't just big lions, they were a unique American masterpiece that vanished just as the modern world was beginning. As we close this story, we reflect on the fragility of even the most powerful creatures. The American lion reminds us that no matter how large the claws or how powerful the bite, every living thing is bound to its environment. When the environment breaks, the giants fall first. We are left with the images in our minds, a golden predator silhouetted against an Ice Age sunset, the true king of the West, leaving behind a legacy that still haunts the wild places of our imagination.